Welcome to the Life Lessons channel. Today, we will explore one of the valuable teachings in Buddhism, the concept of forgiveness according to Buddhist principles. Forgiveness is a concept that seems simple but holds immense power. In life, we cannot avoid pain, conflicts, and injuries. Instances of betrayal, misunderstandings, hurtful words or actions from others, all of these can cause us to feel pain and make it hard to forgive. However, Buddhism teaches that forgiveness is not just an act for others, it is truly an important step in the journey of self-healing and liberation. When we cannot forgive, we hold on to our pain, nurturing resentment, and thus, our souls become bound. Anger and hatred do not make those who have hurt us suffer, instead, we are the ones who endure. Buddha taught that anger is a fire that we ignite in others. When you cannot forgive, you not only hold on to others in your heart but also cause yourself greater suffering. Forgiveness, in its deepest sense, is a way to free oneself from these negative emotions, allowing us to live with a lighter and freer spirit. But forgiveness is not easy. It is a process that requires patience and compassion. Buddhism does not encourage us to forget the pain or pretend that nothing has happened. Forgiveness is a profound realization that every hurt in life can be an opportunity for us to learn and grow. It is a way for you to transcend your ego, to find peace and connection with yourself, with others, and with the world around you. Before we delve deeper into how to apply forgiveness in life according to Buddhist teachings, I want to invite you to do a small but meaningful thing. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos about Buddhist lessons and principles of peaceful living. This not only helps you access more lessons but also helps us spread the message of peace and compassion to many more people. Let's explore the steps in the journey of forgiveness and self-liberation in the next section. Forgiveness is not just a gift for others but a wonderful gift you give to yourself. Are you ready to begin this journey? Let Buddhism guide you to a peaceful life, free from the burdens of resentment. Part 1. What is forgiveness? In life, we all inevitably encounter moments of hurt, painful words, acts of betrayal, or situations where we feel abandoned or insulted. How do we feel when we are hurt? The feelings can include anger, persistent pain, or a sense of injustice. These emotions are not easy to dissipate and can follow us throughout our lives. However, in the teachings of the Buddha, we learn a profound lesson about forgiveness. Forgiveness is not about forgetting the pain, but rather about liberating ourselves from the shackles of resentment and hatred. Forgiveness in Buddhism is not about accepting the wrongdoings or evils of others. It is not about condoning wrongful actions or overlooking the harms we have suffered. In fact, forgiveness is an act of the mind, a release for ourselves, not for others. The Buddha teaches that when we cannot forgive, when we hold on to anger and resentment, we are imprisoning ourselves in a vicious cycle of suffering. We allow these negative emotions to dominate us, harming ourselves rather than those who have hurt us. Anger, hatred, or dissatisfaction only keep our minds in a state of agitation and pain, which cannot bring happiness or peace. Buddhist forgiveness is about freeing the mind from the bondage of negative emotions. Buddhism teaches that when we nurture anger or resentment, we are, in fact, heavy and confused in our soul. These emotions are like invisible strings binding our minds and hearts. Every time we recall the pain we have endured, every time we think of the person who has hurt us, we feel that pain and anger rising again. This can last for many years, even a lifetime, preventing us from finding peace. Forgiveness is a powerful act to cut these strings, liberating the mind from suffering. The Buddha said, when you nurture anger, you do not make others suffer, you only hurt yourself. This is an incredibly important reminder. When we cannot forgive, we not only bear the pain in our souls but also hinder our ability to find peace and happiness. The person who has harmed us may never know the pain we endure, but we are the ones who suffer in the long run. Every day, every minute, every second that we cannot forgive, we carry that burden, and that burden makes our lives difficult and exhausting. Forgiveness is also a path that leads us to a deeper understanding of ourselves. Buddhism teaches us not only to forgive others but also to forgive ourselves. When we can forgive others, we are also learning to accept and forgive our own mistakes. Each of us is human, with our own flaws and shortcomings. When we forgive others, we simultaneously understand that they are just like us, sometimes weak, mistaken, and in need of understanding. When we can forgive them, we also free ourselves from feelings of resentment and self-blame. Forgiveness is part of our practice. In Buddhism, forgiveness is not easy, it requires effort and patience. The Buddha teaches that to forgive, we need to cultivate compassion and wisdom. Compassion helps us see those who harm us not as evil people, but as individuals who are struggling and suffering in their own way. Wisdom helps us recognize that we are all on a journey of learning and growth. Everyone has wounds and pain, and their actions sometimes stem from ignorance or inner suffering they are facing. The journey of forgiveness is a journey to reclaim freedom and peace in our souls. When we can forgive, we no longer have to live in anger, hatred, and blame. We can find true liberation, a freedom that only forgiveness can bring. The Buddha teaches that forgiveness is the key that opens the door to happiness. When we let go of negative emotions, when we leave the past behind and refuse to let those hurts dictate our present, we can open a new space for genuine peace and happiness. Forgiveness not only helps us escape suffering but also helps us grow stronger. Forgiveness is the first step in building a resilient soul, a clear mind, and a peaceful life. It is the way to end the cycle of negative emotions and allows us to perceive the world with an open heart and a tranquil mind. Remember that forgiveness is a wonderful gift you give to yourself. When you can forgive, you not only help others, but you also find peace within your own soul. Forgiveness is an important step on the path to enlightenment and liberation, and it is the first step toward achieving peace in life. I hope these words help you gain a better understanding of forgiveness in Buddhism and the wonderful effects it can bring to our lives. Part 2: Reasons we struggle to forgive. In life, we sometimes encounter deep wounds, pains that seem impossible to heal immediately. Feelings of injustice, anger, or betrayal can cast a shadow over our souls, giving rise to powerful negative emotions that we find hard to let go of. These emotions are one of the reasons we struggle to forgive. However, Buddhism teaches us that we are the ones carrying these burdens, and these feelings not only hinder our ability to forgive but also cloud our minds, making it difficult to find peace. 1. Feelings of injustice and deep pain. When someone hurts us, when we feel betrayed or deceived, we cannot help but feel pain. This feeling can be intense and profound, like a deep cut into our hearts. We feel that we have been treated unfairly, which makes us angry. This sense of injustice is not only about the actions of others but also about the incomprehensible nature of why someone could harm us so deeply. This pain can make us unwilling to forgive. We think that if we forgive, it means we are accepting the wrongdoing, which makes us feel weak and disrespected. However, in Buddhist teachings, the Buddha instructs that feelings of injustice are an unavoidable part of life. Every pain or injustice we experience is part of the chain of cause and effect in this life. What we call injustice is merely a way for us to evaluate situations based on our own perspective. The Buddha teaches that everything that happens has causes and effects. To overcome feelings of injustice, we need to learn to view situations from a broader perspective, not just through the lens of our individual ego. 2. Anger and feelings of betrayal. Anger is a natural emotion when we feel betrayed, deceived, or insulted. This feeling can spread and dominate all our thoughts. We may feel deeply offended and unable to forgive the person who has hurt us. Anger is a powerful emotion. It can cloud our ability to think clearly and can prevent us from forgiving. We think that if we forgive, we will appear weak, unable to protect ourselves from the wrongful actions of others. However, Buddhism points out that anger is not a solution to pain. Anger does not make others suffer, it only harms ourselves. When we are angry, we are merely creating an additional cycle of suffering for ourselves. Anger is a negative emotion, and nurturing it only pulls us further into a whirlpool of pain, preventing us from finding peace in our hearts. The Buddha teaches that to heal and find tranquility, we must let go of anger and instead transform our minds and emotions. 3. Feelings of betrayal and loss of trust. Betrayal is one of the most painful wounds we can experience. When we feel betrayed, we not only suffer physically but also feel a loss of trust in those around us. This feeling can lead us to doubt everyone, not just the person who has harmed us but others as well. Betrayal makes our minds confused and disoriented, making it difficult to forgive those who have hurt us. However, Buddhism teaches that trust is fragile but can be rebuilt. Trust is not something permanent, it changes with circumstances and relationships. While betrayal can make us feel insecure, holding on to resentment does not help us regain trust in life. Conversely, learning to forgive is a way to rebuild trust, not only with others but also with ourselves. When we forgive, we open our hearts to accept the changes in others and to welcome new trust. 4. Self-esteem and personal ego. A significant reason we find it hard to forgive is our personal ego. The ego is a vital part of our lives. We want to protect our dignity and self-esteem, and sometimes, forgiving can make us feel like we are losing, like we are accepting wrongdoing without doing anything to defend our rights. Especially in serious situations where betrayal or harm is profound, our ego can prevent us from forgiving. However, Buddhism teaches that the ego is the source of all suffering. The more we cling to the ego, the more we suffer. Forgiveness is not about relinquishing self-esteem but rather freeing ourselves from the control of the ego. When we let go of the ego, we realize that we do not have to fight against everything to protect ourselves. Forgiveness is a way to elevate genuine self-esteem, as we do not get swept away by negative emotions but instead cultivate understanding and compassion. 5. The burden of negative emotions. We struggle to forgive not only because of the initial harm but also because we carry the burden of negative emotions for extended periods. Feelings of anger, resentment, and suffering linger in our minds, becoming wounds we do not know how to heal. These emotions cloud our minds, preventing us from recognizing new opportunities and from seeing peace in our lives. Buddhism teaches that negative emotions are burdens we carry, and only we can free ourselves from them. When we learn to forgive, we not only let go of negative feelings toward others but also liberate ourselves. Part 3. The first step in forgiveness. In the journey of forgiveness, the most important first step is awareness. Recognizing that forgiveness is not easy is crucial. It is a process that requires time, patience, and continuous effort. More importantly, forgiveness is part of liberating oneself from suffering and mastering the mind. Buddhism encourages us to practice meditation to calm the mind, helping us realize that feelings of anger, resentment, and pain are merely transient mental states and do not reflect our true nature. 1. Awareness of forgiveness. When faced with pain or betrayal, we often tend to react immediately with negative emotions such as anger, sadness, or feelings of injustice. These emotions can overwhelm our minds, making us feel as if they are absolute truths that cannot be changed. However, the first step in the process of forgiveness is to recognize that these negative feelings are natural responses of the mind. They are not our true essence. The Buddha teaches that everything is impermanent. These emotions, no matter how intense, will pass if we learn to handle them and not cling to them. 2. The role of meditation in forgiveness. Buddhism views meditation as an essential method for calming the mind, helping us achieve awareness and deep understanding of ourselves. When practicing meditation, we not only sit in silence but also learn to observe our minds with equanimity. Meditation teaches us that emotions are like clouds passing through the soul, not permanent fixtures. When we encounter feelings of anger or hurt, meditation helps us remain still, observing these emotions without allowing them to dictate our actions. During meditation, we are encouraged to focus on our breath. Each breath serves as a reminder of our presence in the current moment. When we can master our breath and mind, we become aware that all negative emotions, no matter how powerful, will eventually pass. The key is not to let them dictate our lives. Through meditation, we learn not to cling to pain or anger, and this is the first step toward forgiveness. 3. Self-awareness and self-healing. The next step in the process of forgiveness is self-awareness regarding the suffering we carry within us. Sometimes, we do not realize that our resentment and anger create invisible wounds in our souls. We may continue living our lives without recognizing that these negative emotions are tightly gripping our minds, diminishing our peace and happiness. The Buddha teaches that when we harbor feelings of anger or resentment, we are the ones who suffer. The person who harmed us may have moved on without thinking of us, but we allow that suffering to persist in our minds, leading to negative consequences. Forgiveness not only helps others but, more importantly, helps us free ourselves from the burden of negative emotions. To heal, we must accept that forgiveness is not a superficial or easy act. It is a profound process that touches the inner wounds of our souls and requires us to be honest with ourselves. Forgiveness helps us release the negative emotions that have stifled the positive energy in our lives. 4. Transforming emotions through compassion and empathy. Buddhism teaches us not only to forgive but also emphasizes that forgiveness must come from compassion and empathy. Compassion is the ability to understand the suffering of others and to wish for their relief from pain. When practicing compassion, we see others not just as those who have harmed us, but as fellow human beings who are also suffering in their lives. Those who hurt us may be driven by their own pain, which causes them to act wrongly. Compassion helps us recognize that everyone has their own suffering, and instead of holding on to anger, we can face them with love and understanding. The Buddha teaches that compassion is the greatest power that can soothe all the wounds in life. When we practice compassion, we not only forgive others but also help ourselves heal and find peace in our souls. Forgiveness is a way to open our hearts to love unconditionally, free from the constraints of past hurts or anger. 5. Forgiveness and liberation of the mind. Once we have practiced meditation and developed a deep awareness of the impermanence of emotions, the next step is to free our minds from clinging to resentment and suffering. Buddhism teaches that forgiveness is the first step toward liberation from the cycle of suffering we create for ourselves. When we forgive, we not only let go of resentment but also release expectations and illusions about perfection and how others should treat us. This does not mean we accept wrongdoing, rather, it is a way to free ourselves from pain and return our minds to tranquility. The journey of forgiveness is a long process that requires patience, practice, and compassion. Through meditation and heightened awareness, we can learn to forgive not only for others but also for ourselves. Forgiveness is an act of liberation, helping us escape the suffering caused by anger and resentment. In Buddhism, forgiveness is not just an external act but an internal transformation process that helps us reclaim true peace and happiness. When we learn to forgive, we not only open our hearts but also expand our souls, allowing us to live in limitless freedom and joy. Part 4. The Method of Forgiveness in Buddhism. In Buddhism, forgiveness is not an easy act, especially when we face deep wounds. However, the Buddha pointed out that forgiveness is a crucial step in the journey towards liberation from suffering. One of the important methods that Buddhism teaches for forgiveness is the practice of loving kindness, metta. This is a profound and powerful method that helps us release negative emotions while opening our hearts and finding peace in life. 1. What is loving kindness, metta? Loving kindness, metta, in Buddhism is understood as unconditional love, care, and the desire for all beings to be happy and safe. This is not a conditional love or personal affection, rather, it is a vast, infinite feeling that does not discriminate. Loving kindness is the acceptance of everyone as they are, without judgment or resentment, wishing for them to find peace in their lives. The Buddha teaches that loving kindness benefits not only the recipient but also the practitioner. When we practice loving kindness, we not only help those around us but also nourish our own souls with peace and love. Practicing loving kindness allows us to view all events in life from a humanitarian perspective, transcending suffering and finding harmony in our minds. 2. Practicing loving kindness to forgive. When faced with someone who has hurt us, feelings of anger and resentment are natural. However, Buddhism does not encourage us to cling to these emotions. Instead, the Buddha teaches us to use loving-kindness as a tool to free ourselves from these negative feelings. One way to practice loving-kindness in forgiveness is to pray for the person who has harmed us. Rather than continuing to nurture anger or resentment, we can try praying for them, wishing for their happiness and peace. This does not mean we accept or condone their wrong actions but rather helps us release our own pain and nurture peace within our hearts. At this moment, we not only soothe our own emotions but also express deep compassion for the person who has hurt us. Buddhism teaches that loving-kindness is not an indulgence of wrongful actions but a way for us to master our emotions and not let them dictate our actions. 3. Methods of practicing loving-kindness in life. Practicing loving-kindness can be done through several simple yet powerful methods. Each day, we can take time to sit in meditation, focusing on our minds and sending out prayers for those around us, including those who have hurt us. One of the well-known meditations in Buddhism to practice loving-kindness is the Metta Bhavana meditation, development of loving-kindness. In this meditation, we start by sending loving-kindness to ourselves, wishing for our own well-being and happiness. Then, we extend loving-kindness to our loved ones, to friends, to acquaintances, and finally, we send loving-kindness to those we feel harmed by. In this way, loving-kindness not only helps us forgive but also allows us to transcend selfishness and open our hearts to all beings. 4. Loving-kindness and liberation. When we practice loving-kindness, we not only forgive others but also help ourselves liberate from the burdens of anger and resentment. Buddhism teaches that forgiveness is an important part of the process of freeing the soul from suffering. When we no longer cling to negative emotions, we can experience inner peace and happiness. Loving-kindness helps us see others not as enemies but as fellow beings seeking happiness and liberation. 5. Forgiveness and inner peace. When we learn to forgive and practice loving-kindness, we not only lighten the burdens of negative emotions, but we also create opportunities to find peace within our souls. This peace is not an external silence but rather an inner stillness and tranquility of the mind. When we are no longer influenced by anger or resentment, our souls are free, serene, and filled with love. Buddhism teaches that everything in life is impermanent, and negative emotions are merely temporary. When we practice loving-kindness and forgiveness, we embark on the path of liberation, freeing ourselves from suffering and living in a state of freedom and happiness. Forgiveness is not easy, but it is a precious gift we give ourselves to live a life full of love and peace. Loving-kindness is a powerful method in Buddhism that helps us practice forgiveness and find peace in our hearts. By practicing loving-kindness, we not only assist those around us but also nourish our own minds. When we open our hearts and pray for the happiness and well-being of others, we not only free ourselves from anger and resentment but also achieve freedom and liberation. Forgiveness is not just an act of soothing wounds, it is a way for us to return to tranquility, happiness, and unconditional love. Part 5. Forgiveness as self-liberation. In life, each of us experiences moments of being hurt, whether by the actions of others or our own. These wounds can be deep emotional scars that leave lasting marks on the soul. However, Buddhism teaches that forgiveness is not something we do for others, it is a gift we give to ourselves. When we choose to forgive, it does not mean we forget the harm done or condone wrongful actions, rather, we free ourselves from the shackles of pain and negative emotions. 1. Forgiveness, a gift to oneself. The Buddha teaches that forgiveness is an act of liberating oneself from the torment of negative emotions. When we harbor anger, resentment, or feelings of injustice, we not only cause suffering to others but also endure our own suffering. These emotions can affect our mental well-being and harm our health, making our souls heavy and preventing us from finding peace. Deciding to forgive means not only releasing others from responsibility for their actions but also freeing ourselves from the grip of negative emotions. Forgiveness helps us regain freedom, lightness, and peace. Like a key that opens the door to liberation for the soul, forgiveness is the first step toward inner tranquility. 2. Forgiveness as letting go. One reason we struggle with forgiveness is that we cling to our wounds and feelings of resentment. We tend to hold on to negative emotions as a way to protect ourselves from further harm. However, Buddhism teaches that letting go is the true path to liberation. Holding on to anger and resentment only clouds our minds and binds us to the past. The Buddha once said, "Only when you forgive others can you find true freedom." When we forgive, we not only forgive others but also forgive ourselves. We forgive ourselves for having endured for too long, for clinging to the past, and for allowing negative emotions to dominate our lives. Forgiveness is an act of letting go, freeing us from the burdens of these negative feelings. 3. Forgiveness as inner healing. In Buddhist teachings, we learn that feelings of suffering and sadness are not permanent, they are temporary emotions that will pass if we do not allow them to take control. Forgiveness is a crucial part of the self-healing process. When we forgive, we not only free ourselves from past pain but also create a space for healing and growth. Feelings of suffering are often linked to clinging and an inability to accept reality. We suffer because we cannot change the past or erase the wounds. However, Buddhism encourages us to accept reality as it is, and forgiveness is a way to free ourselves from clinging to the past. Forgiveness allows us to release painful emotions, helping us heal our souls and find tranquility. 4. Forgiveness as an expansion of compassion. When we forgive others, we are truly practicing loving-kindness, metta, which is highly valued in Buddhism. Loving-kindness is not only love and care for those we cherish but also an extension of compassion toward those who have harmed us. Forgiveness does not mean accepting another's wrongdoing, it means sending them love and compassion, wishing for their happiness and peace. By practicing loving-kindness, we not only help others but also help ourselves. Compassion is a way for us not to let anger and resentment take root in our hearts. We become stronger and more peaceful when we are free from negative emotions. Forgiveness helps us cultivate compassion and open our hearts to everyone around us. 5. Forgiveness and freedom. Buddhism teaches that true freedom comes from liberating ourselves from negative emotions. When we forgive, we are no longer influenced by anger or resentment, and we are not dragged down by these feelings that cause us harm. Forgiveness allows us to live freely, unencumbered by anger or hatred, so we can enjoy inner peace and happiness. This freedom is not merely physical freedom, it is freedom of the soul. When we are no longer ruled by negative emotions, we feel lighter and more serene. In that moment, we genuinely free ourselves from the constraints of the past and move closer to inner peace. Forgiveness is a powerful act that not only helps us release pain and anger but is also a gift we give to ourselves. When we forgive, we are no longer governed by negative emotions, allowing us to find freedom and peace within our souls. Buddhism teaches that only when we forgive can we liberate ourselves from the suffering caused by clinging to the past. Forgiveness is the key that opens the door to peace, happiness, and true freedom, guiding us back to calmness and tranquility in life. Conclusion. When we face the challenge of forgiveness, it is not just a simple act, it is a profound journey of renewing ourselves. Forgiveness is not easy, it can often be a significant challenge given the wounds we have endured. However, it is essential to recognize that forgiveness is an opportunity to reclaim peace within our souls. As we embark on the journey of forgiveness, we are genuinely liberating ourselves from mental burdens, creating space for positive emotions, tranquility, and love to arise in our minds. Forgiveness can be a new beginning. Imagine it as the dawn, each day is a chance to start anew, to view everything from a fresh perspective, with an open heart and a clear mind. Don't worry if you cannot forgive immediately or if you can't forgive perfectly. Each day, just a little bit of forgiveness will do, just a small amount each day. Over time, you will begin to feel gradual changes in your soul, you will sense relief and peace, no longer burdened by negative emotions. The journey of forgiveness is not a race, it is a path of growth and liberation. Remember that forgiveness is not just for others, it is for you. When you forgive, you are freeing yourself from the torment of pain, anger, and resentment. Forgiveness helps you live more freely, more fully, and allows you to view everything in life with greater clarity and compassion. When you find peace within yourself, you will also notice positive changes in all areas of your life. Thank you for watching today's video. We hope you find tranquility and happiness in every step of your forgiveness journey. Let forgiveness become an essential part of your life, enabling you to live with an open heart and a peaceful soul. If you found the messages in this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss future videos. Please share your thoughts on the topic of forgiveness in the comments below, as we would love to hear your stories. Every share brings us closer to understanding and deep connection with one another. Together, we can create a community filled with love and compassion. We are always here to accompany you on the journey towards peace and happiness. Thank you for being with Life Lessons. Wishing you a peaceful and love-filled day.